Well, all right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome again. It's been a while. This is Sal Lo. I'm the CEO for Jorie Advanced Technology, and we're here for another episode of Tech Talks with Jorie AI. But this time, we're not going to talk too much about tech. We want to talk about our interns here who have been hand selected to come on board to to have the Jorie experience, right? And so the Jory experience is about our organization welcoming in the new generations to come in and experience how it's like to, let's say, break a copier and get yelled at by our staff and understand what the real world looks like outside of school. And I'm sure that they are coming right around that corner to experience that as they're all in school right now, and we're going to get some of their feedback and insights on what their career aspirations are to share with all the other students that are out there that are looking for a potential career in the industry, whether it be technology, healthcare, finance, or all of the above. With that said, let's do a round robin and introduce ourselves with Erika over there on the left first, and then Erika, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and giving us your quick background intro.
Yeah, I'm Erika. I go to University of Miami. I'm going into my junior year, and I'm majoring in health science on the pre-med track.
Awesome, Erika.
I'm Jake.
Jake.
I go to University of Alabama. I'm going my junior year as well, and my major is political science on the pre-law track.
Awesome. Roll Tide. Way to go.
I'm Emma. I go to the University of Kentucky, and I'm also going to be a junior, and I'm a nursing major.
Fantastic. Great school.
I'm Vivian. I go to the University of Mississippi. I'm also going to be a junior, and I'm majoring in integrated marketing communication.
That's great, Vivian.
I'm Maggie. I go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I'm going to be a senior, and my major is data science.
Data science, and that's really, and nice to meet you, Maggie. That's gonna be great because we're all about tech, we're all about data, but we're all about the future of our children, and I would say children, but this is young adults. So let's start off the topic. So I think that obviously we're gonna keep this as a casual discussion back and forth, and you can guys chime in, say whatever you want to say, good or bad. The more challenging, the better. So this is the kind of no holds barred. We can say whatever we want. All right, so let's talk about first, coming out of your getting to the workforce and getting ready for, let's say, graduation a couple of years from now for most of you. This is exciting and understanding, where you want to head in your careers. Just one piece of it is to share with our company, some of the pros and cons of working in the private world, in the real world, so to speak, right? Where you get paid for what you do and your performance, and you build on your career aspirations. But before we talk about that, let's talk about where your culture, where your generation fits, and that's how you perceive your generation is, and you specifically going out into this work environment. And in order to understand that, let's look at how the community or the culture or the media has categorized our generations. So we have to start off with what I could remember. All right, so that's a long time ago. All right. So how many of you know what baby boomers are?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what year they were born?
No.
60s?
Roundabout?
The 60s.
Close. 80s.
No, it's 50s, 60s.
Closer. Yeah. So
50s?
40s.
between 1946 and 1960. All right. That's the baby boomers. And they call them baby boomers because those were the guys that are already in their retirement age. And the ones that in the retirement age have to be the ones that are hitting the top of the the top of the crop there. You're talking about the Bill Gates of the world, those icons there, Warren Buffett's of the world. These are and the Steve Jobs of the world. These were the movers and shakers during the baby booming generation, and there's lots that aren't as well known. But I wanted to pick on those individuals because they represented back then what you would call, a lot of they call them baby boomers because there was a lot of babies being born there, right? There's a huge population boom there, free love, et cetera, and that kind of stuff. And the hippie generation and all of that kind of created a lot of that kind of spirit. And that spirit was very, what I call liberal. And you thought that was never market driven or entrepreneurial driven. But totally opposite of that, they went from that kind of mindset, that culture, to then leading some of our biggest corporations in the world. IBM, Apple, etc., Berkshire Hathaway, Microsoft. What incredible thinking that, hey, these guys aren't going to go anywhere because they don't know what to do except like free love and hippies and not really caring about economy at all. And they became the leaders the top leaders that we respect, right? And so, what do you guys think about the baby boomers? If any opinion?
I don't really
Getting
know.
old.
Yeah.
Far away from you, right? They're so far away from you. You just can't consider who are those old guys that are now like the heads of it's just so far removed from where you're at. And so we'll talk about the next one, Generation X. All right, Generation X, that's where I am. 1965 to 1980. All right, so 65 to 80, that's where I was born in 1966, so I'm in the bottom end
Just
of the
made the cut.
I just made it. I'm just like the Aquarius, right at Aquarius, at the cusp of Aquarius. But at the same time, 66 is still like the end of towards the tail end of the hippie generation. And so I'm coming in with kind of a blend of the hippies going into the Generation X, where they didn't know how to market to us. We were considered like, more of coming up in this field. We didn't have any social media. We had nothing like that. So they didn't know how to focus on our different groups. We were still looking at things like TV shows like The Brady Bunch and all of these things, Happy Days, and we were just focused. If they showed us something, everybody watched it, because we didn't have many places to go for our news and all of that. But we were also a group that I felt like was very entrepreneurial, and we had to kind of like grit to stay alive throughout that processes, and so we're the Generation Xers that basically they felt were the hardworking group, and I'll tell you why, because I felt like there was nothing that we felt that was owed to us, that we had to basically roll up our sleeves and have to earn everything that we did, and that's kind of where we didn't care, and we didn't care how you labeled us. This is how we kind of approached it. We were kind of rebels, and for the good, and for the bad, right? So that's where the Generation X's are. That's where I still fit in Generation X. Then we had the millennials. 1981 to 2000. Okay, so this is still before your time, right? And the millennials came out, and this was the group, and you could disagree with me or agree with me that this was the group that was like basically didn't really conform to the status quo. They basically didn't really look at the terms of focus on earning money, or that they looked at, but yet they were wealthy, right? So I guess that's one of the stereotypical things that they say about the millennials, and that also the opposite end was it that the millennials would come into the market and they want to be the CEO of the company, and not have to work to get there. Now I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from just saying that, but I'm just saying that, just kind of like blaring out these categories. And if you're a millennial, you'll be like, I object to that. And you should, because I think that that's just a bad stereotype. And I think that not everyone should be categorized in that stereotype, that there's all kinds of people around it. But now we're going to get to Generation Z. Do you guys know Generation Z?
That's us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So have you been called Generation Z before? Did you know that? Because when we were Generation X, we all knew we were Generation X.
Yeah,
Uh,
Gen Z
no.
is like a
Gen Z,
term.
All right. So Gen Z. Okay. 2001 to 2020. I wish I was there. All right. As you're going to 2001 and 2020, that means the baby boomers are already retired. I'm at Generation X, and I'm looking to retire. Okay. Generation Z, you guys are up next. All right. So imagine, where do you want to be categorized, right? So I'm seeing that Generation Z, is very similar to Generation X. You've seen the millennials get categorized as they take everything to like accounted for and entitlement, right? And that's a bad thing to say, but again, give me some hate mail on that. Where do you see Generation Z, your Generation Z, coming out into the workforce? What's your opinions on how you categorize your generation?
I think our generation, since we were the first generation that grew up with social media, that'll be like one of the biggest like changing the biggest factors like of us coming into like the workplace.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because people who are like 16 now have like $1 million checks from TikTok.
yeah,
And like they're already there and they're 16 and don't have to work.
And also, I feel like we can gain so much information just
so
right
quickly.
here. Like we can know anything at any moment.
That's a really good point. And, that's a huge benefit for Generation Z. When I was in my Generation X, we're still reading newspapers, right? And so, I mean, I hate to say it, but they invented the microwave when I was live, right? So the fact of the matter is that the amount of media that you absorb now is not like where we would just focus on the major network stations, channel 2, 7, 9, to get our news. How are you getting your information today?
Mainly from like TikTok.
Yeah. You could get it pretty live too. Like people who are at whatever it is, like post their point of view on it. So like you get it even before the news does.
And, how do you make your decisions? Like if someone tells you, all of this stuff that's happening in Israel, Hamas, and Palestinians and things like that, these are very complex things. And I know maybe it's not on the top of your topic, but how do you make your decisions on those kind of things? How do you make your opinion on those things? You're hearing a lot. You see the protests in your schools and things like that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to wonder, sometimes you're just upset because why are they breaking up our graduation or something like that? Right?
Yeah.
And so, but how do you make your decisions and get your news from those kind of topics and know that, which ones are real and which ones are like, kind of swayed by different factions and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's especially like that topic, there's so many different opinions that I'm hearing on Instagram and on TikTok that I think I haven't really chosen I haven't based any of my information off of other people's.
Yeah,
And I think it's very hard because a lot of people do. And so a lot of people are getting misinformation because it's being thrown at them.
Yeah, I feel like it matters on the person.
Yeah.
Like some people could just like see it all and it won't really change like what their ideas is, but you just like see it. Versus like other people will take it and just like run with that. Yeah.
And obviously I'm Generation X, but because of social media, it's also allowed even the Generation X folks like myself to look at the different views as well and open my eyes to it as well. A little bit different is that because of my company and where I get to travel all over the world. So I just got back from the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, and I wanted to see how they were thinking about topics like that. And they have access to all those media outlets. We actually are more upset about the Palestinian-Israeli war here than they are in the Middle East. Imagine that, right? And so this is where I get some real time, still face to face. But besides that, living in a social media environment, how do you now like interact or communicate with your peers, people? Are you mostly texting each other, Zoom? Uh, how do you get to? Do you feel that you're more face to face now than before? Are you able to meet up better together or collaborate better together because of social media? Tell me the pros and cons of that. And I'll get to my point here because we're going to talk about the work environment right after this.
I think it's definitely easier to collaborate now because it's like I could text Maggie and get a response in like 10 seconds. Whereas like if I tried to call her, maybe then she missed the call and things like that.
Okay.
I also think FaceTiming is really great because if I need to show someone something, I don't need to text them a photo while I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the texting back and forth, you guys have different code languages that you use. I don't understand. I think you have your own secret code. At that time, in my generation, they called it Pig Latin, but you guys have Ixnay, right? We used to make up crap like that. But anyways, I know you guys don't know that stuff, but everyone in my age group is laughing right now. All right. So with that said, now as you're going kind of morphing here into this work environment, you're also the generation that unfortunately experienced COVID, right? Which is like, I don't know, it's a 100-year event, once in 100 years. Hopefully only that happens only once in 100 years. But it can happen actually any time. It just happened to be that kind of event. And the last time that happened was the flu. No one knew how to treat the flu. And so with the now coming off of COVID, it actually put a lot more emphasis in the social media to communicate, including things like online schooling and Zoom, etc., that kind of like expanded. Obviously, you had to deal with that transition through school, and that's an experience that hopefully will never be repeated. But it did take away some things. We did take away some things. Our ability to use the internet and teleconferencing like this to be able to communicate, even if you're across the world. Like obviously, Emma. And Erika and Jake are in a totally different room.
Yeah.
And we're in a totally different room. But we could be across the globe for all that matters, right? So the bottom line is this. Now that we're doing this type of communication and you're going into the workforce, do you feel like this is better or worse?
I think it's worse because it's like nice if you have like one meeting and you sit on a call, but like every day not coming in like for school at least, like you sit in your pajamas, you lay in bed all day and you don't do anything, like you get lazy.
And I feel like I didn't try as hard.
Yeah, because
like,
it was just so much easier.
Because it was just like busy work, online work, than actually like being in person, like face to face, like hands on, like learning and interacting with people and doing stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely good that it became a thing though, just because like it is easier now to meet with people that are not with you, but if you could just all like go to work and be at the same place, it's definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like it's beneficial for like state to state work and like across the globe, but like same city, like town, I feel like being in person is like obviously better.
Yeah.
Those are all good points. You guys have any comments on that?
I feel like it really changed like the culture too. Like I feel like office culture used to be such a big thing, like going into the office like 9 to 5, and now it's like completely different, and it's like changed like relationships and like people just as people and like how we are now as a society.
So one of the things, kind of leaning on my vast experience and age in Generation X, where all we did was face to face. And when I came back from Saudi Arabia, if you didn't do face to face, you're not doing business with anybody over there, right? You could do back and forth here. And now I realize when you go over there, I have to sit down in their courtyard with their aunts, uncles, grandfathers, etc., and drink their tea, eat their dates, and then understand their culture. And then from that point on, I'm welcome all the time in their house without an invitation. All right, these are things that I think when you talk about social media, the piece that's missing is the social piece.
Yeah.
Social media is different than the actual social piece. And that culture in the office, so to speak, is, I think that I'm afraid that the Generation X group might miss some of that, which is then when you go to an interview, how do you act in front of somebody?
Yeah.
All right. What are you going to wear? Your pajamas? Okay. So I know obviously that's kind of because you guys are more stylish than all of us now. But I've seen a lot of hesitation from Generation X to basically know how to work with the people around them, where they're used to the different personalities in the office, right? And so some of that I understand that you work with when you have your roommates and you have your people around you. And I'm sorry, there we go. You have your friends around you. You collaborate there, but there's now the working environment where we're just going to collaborate through Zoom.
Yeah.
And case in point, where I work, obviously my wife works in healthcare, and they made a directive. There's like 70,000 people in the company she works for, and they made a directive that they're never going to go back into the office for the administrators. Everyone's going to work from home forever.
Wow.
Okay. Her reaction is that she misses the office every once in a while, even though it's like, Eureka, I have all this time. She actually works more because of that. Ends up working more, but I don't know.
Community.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
I know.
I feel like it's not a good thing.
No.
Working from home. Like, I feel like you need the human interaction, like, every day. Because, like, I feel like COVID and, like, working from home has made a lot of people, like, sort of isolate themselves because you could do everything
it's also
from
good
your laptop.
To have to go, get out of the house, get ready every day, get into, like, good routine versus just rolling out of bed and doing whatever you need to do, turning it off.
I think from my perspective, a hybrid where basically for our sales team, for example, they're supposed to be here so we can learn and bump off ideas on the fly whenever we need to. But if they hit their goals, they get Fridays to go home and work from home.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
incentive-based hybrid situation.
Yeah. And I just feel like it's not me as a matter of, hey, you got to be in the office all the time so I could just put my finger down and watch you every step of the way. It's and I'll never do that, right? But for me, it's more like this is how you work together as people, right? And case in point, I got 1,400 people, and most of them are global in India. All right. Imagine the masses of people there. And if I could show you that video of them like having celebration after celebration, dancing and having food together, what you could possibly be missing from that is it's not just the work, it's the growing together. And I could imagine before the employees here would spend most of their time at work, and they do, even if when you're working from home, than you do with your own immediate family.
Yeah.
Do you spend most of your time at school than you do with your immediate family? All right. So guess what? When you get out of school, most of your time is working, whether you're working for yourself or not. And then you get that small sliver of time that you can spend with your family. That's meaningful too. But when you miss that camaraderie, I don't think you get to grow up the same. And so part of that is you're going to find that the culture, right? And I get this all the time with my staff is I go, are we talking the same language? I thought I heard you this way. This one is going in this direction. This one's going this direction. But Sal, we're following your directive. I go, no, I said we're going this direction. You went left. You went right. Okay, so with that said, it's good to be on a team. And imagine it's like a team that you have. Let's say you're playing football. Can you tell your football players to go work remotely, and then we'll come back and we'll be all in sync, right?
Yeah.
So it takes time to practice our social skills.
100%.
So all right, tell me a little bit more about what you're trying to do with your lives, and again, you're going to be the leaders coming out of here. You see that we're introducing you to a technology company that kind of grew up from scratch, kind of understood how to be entrepreneurs, how to survive. We're still trying to survive, but why don't you tell us about, what do you want to accomplish in your life out of school?
So I want to go to medical school, and I've just always been interested in it, and like I just like working with people, like being in person and all that kind of stuff, which was hard when like COVID hit because everyone just did online classes. And even though it was easier, like my friends who are older than me now like don't know as much. It's like way harder for them to get into a medical school because they don't have as much like experience and in-person stuff. So they've actually started requiring all classes to be in person if you apply into medical school. So like that kind of stuff, like I'm just excited to be able to be in person for everything and labs and have like social connection with patients and stuff like that.
So Erika, I mean, obviously being a doctor is pretty high level as far as like, from a career perspective. What is your personal reason for doing that? Obviously there's a big reward from a financial perspective that people also consider, but what's your passion there?
I've just been around it my whole life. Science is like the only thing that keeps me interested. Like in school, like I don't like reading or math or like writing or anything like that. And it's something where like you'll always be able to be working with people. Like you can't just sit in front of a computer and like do a job that way. And there's so many different like aspects you could go into it, like sports medicine, and you could work with kids and like stuff like that is kind of what I'm more interested in instead of like working in a hospital.
That's awesome. And then, what's influenced you to go in that direction?
My uncle's a neurosurgeon, and so I've shadowed him since like 8th grade, and we get to just go in different environments, and there's a bunch of other stuff not just in the hospital that they do. Like we went to Honduras and got to hang out over there and see what they're doing there.
So having role models that kind of give you ideas, whether it be in healthcare or other fields, it allows you to get ideas on, hey, this is interesting as a career for you, kind of influence you that way. Well, that's awesome, Erika. Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're
I'm interested in law school because I'm hoping through that I get pretty well educated on certain ways to like make money and improve like companies. I'm going for like that aspect more of than me becoming like a prosecutor or something like that. And hopefully like with that, it'll just make me just better educated in like the entrepreneurial field afterwards and see where that brings me.
Well, that's refreshingly truthful, right? Hey, I want to be a rich lawyer, right? So I mean, but utilizing your brains and your skill set to
just like give me an advantage on just doing that. Yeah,
it makes sense. And our general counsel here, Kyle Kicker, he's someone that you should talk to as a kind of a role model for what he does. He used to be a former D1 basketball player, 6'8", but also got through his law degree, and he's responsible for all of our capital raise to date. And so he's built a great career with us. You should talk to him as well, and maybe shadow him in a few meetings. So
yeah, it's the plans for later.
Yeah, no, I like that you're open right now, because I'll tell you that you guys have choices now, and those choices are available to you to get to your goals. And as you get older, those choices get narrow, and you just want to make sure that you can keep your options open for you. And you'll know what I mean when you get older. All right, Emma, why don't you go ahead and say a few words for us?
I chose nursing sort of because I like the whole aspect of teamwork, and like nursing is something where like it's not just you working, like you have to work as a team with people, and it's very hands-on, and that's what I like in school right now, like doing clinicals and like lab. Like I learn more doing stuff and like hands-on than I would just like being in an online course or just like a random lecture listening to something. And then after I graduate nursing school, I want to eventually go to NP school to be in like family practice and one day like open up my own place, because I also kind of want to be like my own boss and like have my own thing. And my sisters are also in healthcare, so we kind of want to do something together and like keep it in the family.
All right. So you know my daughter, right, Emily?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you guys have the same kind of aspiration.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that you've got various options there
Mm-hmm.
in your career goals, whether it be nursing, going towards NP, or creating entrepreneurial businesses around it. This gives you anything that you're choosing, as long as you choose your high goal first, and then you could reverse it back, and you can go to different aspects of that. That's really exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
All right, and then I got to make sure I'm on the right left here. So
Maggie.
Maggie. All right, here you go.
I would like to stay in the technology space and also the creative space and work more in like the arts with technology, because I think that's such a new thing that is going on, and a lot of artists are starting to use technology in their work, and I think it's very interesting and new, which I like.
Well, that's exciting. I'll tell you who was in the arts of technology. It's Steve Jobs. All right. So Steve Jobs started in the art side, and he brought the art into Apple, which made Apple the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it because he studied what? Calligraphy.
Yeah.
He studied the art of calligraphy. Why is that into technology? Because how you look at fonts today was brought about by Steve Jobs, because he brought the way no one knew what the word font was before. And you're like, oh, fonts, a different size of text, cursive or whatever. When the computer, quote unquote, nerds like myself we don't care about the fonts. We just like dot matrix, A, B, C, blah, 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 blah. And Steve Jobs created the elegance of the computer, so that is now the iPhone, which you could use it by touching the screen rather than using a pen or stylus, because he created the creativity around the technology. So we need that.
Yeah, I think looking from the creative side opens up so much in the technological world.
And when we talk about our company with artificial intelligence, we're not trying to create a widget that does a routine over and over and over and over again that's within a computer. We try to create an automation that creates a virtual human being.
Yeah.
And so that just takes it to another level. Okay, that means this is not for a computer. This is to create a virtual human being. And so I'm all with you on that. And obviously that's in our sweet spot here. All right, Vivian.
So I chose my major. It's integrated marketing communication. So it kind of brings like the social media aspect and like marketing and comes together, and how we see marketing nowadays, where we get all our influence like from our phones, whether it's on like a news app or anything. So I don't know, I've always just been like good with people and like communicating. So I just wanted to bring that together.
All of you could come together and start a company, because you need every aspect of those things to achieve your goals. And eventually you're going to see that, and you're like, you don't realize it's right in front of you, right? And Vivian, that marketing aspect of it, sales aspect of it, nothing happens without clients or revenue that's coming in the door. And our go-to-market strategy that combines everything from social media to direct sales to alternate channels, to email campaigning, and our trade shows that we come in front of all of that stuff ties into what you're doing, and it's a full-time job on many of those things. So there's plenty of opportunity there. And then I want you guys to think more bigger picture, that you'll realize, and I realize this really quick, that you can't be the one-man show to achieve your goals. Mm-hmm. You got to depend on people around you. That's why I'm concerned about like that. There's no in-person collaboration in the workplace. That you should have that, because you need to depend on the people around you to achieve your goals. Mm-hmm. Case in point, Emma, let's say, wants to start an entrepreneurial venture in as an NP, open up her own, let's say, primary care office or what have you. She's going to need some marketing behind that, and she could be doing the marketing. And
when I hire you, Vivian.
Yeah, or she might open up an office without the marketing and only have one client walking. Vivian and I shouldn't talk to her, right? But then they couldn't analyze what Vivian was doing because they didn't have the data analytics person here. And if Vivian's work was actually getting to the right person and such, and then Emma had to hire a doctor to take on a lot of those. Well, here's Erika, but then she didn't run the compliance through Jake, and now she's
now everyone's going to jail.
Sorry, guys.
So I could quickly make these assumptions because I have to work with a whole team of people, and I realized very quickly I can't do everything by myself. Otherwise, I'm trying to do everything that I'm not, and you can't get to your goals of scalability that way. And then don't limit yourself either, right? So tell me about the things that all right. So these are things that you'll do at work. What's going to give you the satisfaction? What are you going to have fun? What do you want to do here? That is going to be. Because a lot of times people are driven by success by categorizing it from a financial perspective, which is also important that you set your financial goals. But what's going to make you fun or give you happiness? That's a crazy question, but I think besides going out partying, having a few drinks with your friends, getting into bars with underage and say, "Hey, look at what we did." Just what I've already been there, done that. All right, so, but go ahead. What'll make you happy? Let's say that you have a moment in your time. You got 2 years in school here, but you have the next 30 years of work in your environment. Are you looking to, raise a family? Are you looking to build your career? What is going to make you happy? Start that conversation.
Yeah, I feel like,
because the easiest thing that people say to make them happy is give me $100 million. All right, that's going to make me happy. All right, let's set that aside. All right. Let's say that for me, that if I know that I could provide a long-term, let's say, economy for or support for 1,400 people, and then my technology helps with the hospital stay, keep the doors open. At the end of the day, I'm getting paid for it. Yeah, and then from a perspective, I like to have my own schedule. I like to be my own boss. Mm-hmm. I like that freedom that affords me to do that, and yet I'm not a slacker. That I probably work harder 24/7, and still am in charge of my own schedule. Yeah. And so that makes me happy. I think that for the last 20 years, even though there's been stresses back and forth because of the work or almost running out of money, getting out of business, I got used to it. Mm-hmm. And in general, I think that, raise a family, still went through a lot of ups and downs there. And I think in general, I felt like I've accomplished a lot of the things that I want to do if I died tomorrow, right? So what makes you happy? What are you trying to accomplish, or what would make your life happy?
I like having like what you said, like having your own schedule, being able to
like your own boss.
Yeah, and then it's also kind of like fun. Yeah, it's like ups and downs, like, oh, you almost go broke or that, but it's kind of like gets kind of fun because then like there's like some enjoyment and excitement behind it. where like you kind of like keep wanting to do what you're doing?
I guess it could be fun and it could be stressful.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but
when I was younger, that's all I lived is that entrepreneurial life, and when I got married, I didn't realize that you had to have a job all the time. You had to have money to come in all the time, right? And so it's a little bit stressful if you're not used to that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying it's for everybody, but the idea that you could be your own boss is attractive, but it does come with some sacrifice and risk. But everything does come with risk. So 100%. It's just a matter of planning out that risk. I don't like to take risks, but I'll take a calculated risk. If you have to. But what makes you happy, guys?
I think helping others and knowing that what I'm doing can impact others and make their lives easier, their lives better.
All right, what really makes you happy?
No, really, no.
No, I mean that's really good, and I think that it is quite rewarding when you're able to, like, I saved a hospital. That means a mom doesn't have to drive from a rural area 100 miles to have a baby. It was a $150 million hospital that if it went away, it won't serve that community anymore. And I didn't think I was doing anything at the time, but then I realized that what was accomplished was had that benefit. So it's not like I purposely wanted to do that. I just realized that at the end result was good. So I mean, obviously what you do in the marketing side, helping people. Do you feel like your reward is based on, others going to you, hey, you did a great job. You helped us keep our company floating, or you reach your
I think about it like that, and all those people get to keep their jobs and like have successful and support their families and stuff like that.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in?
I like to travel, so like any job where I can still travel and like maybe travel
your mom, Erika.
for my job, like would be fun for a few years, and then like eventually just like be able to open up my own practice and like have people work for me and not have to work every day.
Wow, everybody here wants to be an entrepreneur. Maggie, you have any comments there?
I just want to do something that, even if it's not my job, I want to continue to do something that I'm passionate about. And then maybe one day it could become my full-time job.
Make a difference?
Yeah.
That's great. Emma?
I think that like I obviously want to be like my own boss and like have like my own like free time. It's like I do want to have a big family in like the future, so I want to be like really present with like my kids and like raising them and stuff. So I feel like being my own boss and like having my own like hours and like having people work for me without having the time to like travel and stuff is ideally what would make me happy.
I think having that blend, having that blend is key. Understanding where that blend is so that you're not like 100% just workaholic. And that work-life balance, I know, is kind of up there on a lot of people's topics. But what I'm hearing is that kind of looking at where you want to be in your life, those aspirations have to come with a plan. If you want to be your own boss, you're not going to be your own boss sitting on your hands waiting for things to happen around you, right? You almost have to look at how to get there by other people that have gotten there already. And it's not an easy overnight task. It's hard work to get there, almost more work than if you had to actually work for somebody. Not to say that working for somebody is bad, because I think that I try to keep that same approach to the staff over here, that don't limit yourself, and if you want to break away from me and start your own company, don't be afraid to ask me, because I'll be the first one to help you start it, because it's not all about, hey, I could sell something. It's a lot of this kind of collaboration to get there. And at the end, sometimes it's also recognizing your opportunities wherever it may be. Because if you see your opportunity to, let's say, get into a clinic and get some clinical experience, take that opportunity to get you to your next step. Okay, if you see the opportunity where we're in a technology revolution today, that you're in a unique position where you could actually be experiencing a technology revolution in artificial intelligence, similar to the industrial revolution that changed the way we work and manufacture. So imagine that if you flash forward 10 years from now and you realized what you were sitting on today, you could literally figure out how to print your own money. And so I have seen, like, because I've been in this space, and all of the things that you see, the wearables, all of the things that you see to monitor your health and all that stuff, has been around for 10 years or more. Yeah. But we are slow to adapt, and that gives us a bird's eye view of what's coming up. So if you know that people are slow to adapt the technology, that means you have time in your field to have the cheat sheet of the test.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? Erika, you're going to be a doctor. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be a radiologist because it's going to be taken over by my company, an AI company that's going to do those readings. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be in maybe more concierge care or preventative medicine, or home, going into the home care or self-care environment, and you're going to see that because you're going to recognize that's where your industry's heading. Also, like Jake, in the legal side of things, you're going to see things that, hey, this AI or internet, there's going to be lots of laws around it. People won't know how to deal with that. And it's just going to grow into a huge business. And they're already dealing with it right now. But again, people are slow to adapt. And as you can see, all of these claims in regards to Twitter, TikTok, they're trying to take that over back into the United States. Why? Because the data and all of that stuff, all that legal issues that are coming up there. Obviously the clinic side, you've got a lot of opportunities there, Emma. The ability to expand that footprint. I see everything going from the hospital to the surgery centers to at home to preventative care. All that's going to require, and the costs of doctors are getting so high right now. You have to specialize, but you're still going to need those doctors, but you have a room to grow. There'll be more PAs and NPs that are needed in the near future. So all of that, and obviously tying in marketing and all the data around it, the support structures, is going to be huge. You'll have, what I'm saying is you'll have view access to that in the future. All right, so tell me some of the things we shouldn't do, some mistakes that you feel like you may have misstepped. All right, well, I want the dirty laundry, so tell me more, and we can start with Erika.
Or like about what?
Well, I remember there was a video of you grabbing a baby duckling, and then the mom attacked you.
Yeah.
Talking about things like what you learned from, like, what you should and shouldn't do in as you go through, the learnings of your school, your career. What advice would you give people to make sure they're understanding how to head in the right direction? Because we easily learn from our mistakes as well.
Yeah, I think, like, especially taking hard science classes, like, everyone kind of looks at the end goal and is like, all right, you need all A's and this, and this to get into medical school. But when you're, like, going through those classes and, like, you don't do so well, like, it's such a small part of everything else. Like, one bad grade's not going to screw you over for the whole rest of the time you're going into medicine. Like, a lot of people dropped out my freshman year of pre-med and wanted to change into something else and then switch back after because they realized, like, oh, the one thing they did, like, didn't actually screw up anyone. And I think with social media, like, I can look up, like, people who are going through medicine now and, like, they'll post, like, oh, I had, like, a 3.5 GPA, like, and, like, barely anything. And, like, you don't need all this stuff, like, to a T to, like, get into medical school, and it makes it a lot easier and like more just like appealing to keep going because you don't have to stop once you mess up. Like you just learn
So
from it
you're
and keep
saying
going.
that part of the learning lesson there is to be persistent and just do your research on the screening out process of your goal. Don't let your goals kind of get thrown away because of one grade or someone telling you shouldn't do it, right? Okay. What do you guys feel about, like, obviously, and I talk to my kids about this, is, when you're growing up, you can make mistakes, but don't make any major mistakes that will follow you around for the, for your entire, that you have to try to overcome. Like, getting a DUI or something like that, right? Those kind of things. How do you keep yourself in check and understanding, like, hey, how do I make sure that, I make the right decisions?
I think major mistakes is like something you can control. Like, you're going to make those mistakes, and like some people just have no filter and will still do it and be like, it is what it is. If I get caught, I'll get caught, or like I won't get caught. Yeah. Like people who think they have nothing to lose will do anything, and then they have stuff to lose.
You own your own life, and I see a lot of really potential hugely successful people here. Part of it is life, right? It could throw a curveball at you. Life situations, whether it be money, it could be love, it could be health issues. Hopefully none of those, but you kind of have to survive through all of those hurdles, etc. What do you feel about these categories, though? Like, I hear things like in that generation, we grew up with all of these terms like a woke culture, a entitled culture. I heard words that I never heard before, like snowflake. Does that kind of make you angry? Or tell me how do you feel about those kind of terms in that, in your generation that's come up?
Personally, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know myself and who I am, so I just kind of ride.
I feel like that only applies to like a certain amount of people. Like,
yeah, I feel like I don't really like
care.
We're
like
all
split up so much. Yeah. Like it's not like everyone is in our generation. Like everyone in our generation, so
pretty different.
So different. So in many different ways.
Do you think that it's like these terms are being brought up by a minority of people, but because of social media, it's taking on a viral effect and being categorized? Because we never had that from a Generation X perspective.
I think the influence of like celebrities and stuff, like people will switch up their opinion just because the celebrity said so, and then the celebrity switches it, they switch.
I also feel like a lot of those people just don't even really have an understanding of what they're they're just saying it to kind of say it and have people like
become viral.
Do you feel like you're judged on social media? I mean, we heard about the quote unquote cancel culture, and that people were immediately like can get viral on and be judged immediately on basically one thing.
Well, I don't really feel like I do anything where that would be an issue.
Yeah. Like Emily posted.
Definitely that could happen.
Emily posted a fake TikTok about me, and like people had stuff to say, and like I got hate for it, like in my DMs. Like,
I forgot about
like people we don't even have a following, and people we don't know, like who have a blank like profile picture, will just hate on people for
they'll
fun.
Comment something
like
stupid and just like think it's like funny.
Yeah.
Here, I think to be like rude or anything behind the screen.
Like
compared to face, it's hard to be like, yeah.
That's where I feel like, growing up, I would be like with my friends, it's like, tell it to my face and we'll beat each other up and then we'll be friends afterwards, right? And so I don't know if that's the case when you could hide behind your computer and be able to cancel somebody out and create a viral effect.
Well, usually I feel like it wouldn't be like anyone you know personally.
It's strange.
It's gonna be some random person
like people you don't know who are gonna hate you.
I think people listen more to the hate stuff that's out there, and then it's kind of miscategorized because I would say that the majority of the people are like all of you. Everyone's trying to be trying to move to better themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think more of that has to come into play. All right. So
Yeah.
so any fun stories in college life that you want to share with us? No, that you don't want to share with us?
Don't want to get canceled.
Caught a duck.
Got attacked.
You might not have had as much fun as I did then. But in any way, tell me about your experience here at Jorie. I know you guys just got started. What are you trying to look to accomplish here at Jorie from a people perspective, experience perspective?
I think just better my knowledge on like the corporate and working in office and everything
Working
like that.
in the office.
And the experience.
Yeah.
Like I've never worked in an office before.
Yeah, same.
I think that if you get that one piece out, that's important. Yeah. Go ahead,
I
Learned how to fix a microphone.
yeah, you're gonna get yelled at.
Fix.
I've done internships for makeup brands, and I think I'm very excited to learn more about like the AI,
The
and
AI
medical world in an office.
I think
versus like beauty and fashion.
And Maggie, you should. We have a weekly call. I'll invite you to it where we have Marquetta, who's our digital data analytics person.
Mm-hmm.
She does a whole report on everything that we do to what we're doing to accomplish our goals in social media and our ability to utilize that data to create financial metrics and the tools around it that we're doing.
Yeah.
That'll be something that you might want to
I'd love to
experience that. All right, so I want to talk about my nephew Mitchell, who was here as a intern, and when he came in, I had hired a CEO. I wasn't the CEO at the time, and Mitchell broke our copier because he tried to copy something with a staple in it, and he had no experience in using a copier. Okay, and the things that we take for granted because you're not in the office, you can't run a staple through a copier. He did not know, and so one of our staff members yelled at him for, "What are you, stupid?" Okay, so I heard it. I looked in there and I was smiling in the back of my head. The CEO goes, "Ivana, you should not yell at him like that." And I said, "Heck yeah, you should yell at him," because that's part of the experience. Is that you got to work with people, right?
Yeah.
And then learn from that.